My name is Lena, and I never imagined that love could bloom in such unexpected places. Growing up, I was always close to my cousin, Arif. He wasn't just family to me. He was my best friend, the person I confided in the most. We shared everything, from childhood memories to our dreams for the future. Little did I know that one day, I would find myself falling in love with him. Our families often gathered for holidays, and on those occasions, Arif and I would spend hours talking, laughing, and reminiscing about old times. He had a way of making me feel special, like I was the most important person in the room, even though he had many other people to attend to. I loved the way he listened to me, the way his eyes sparkled when he smiled. But one day, everything changed. It was a quiet evening, and we were sitting under the stars in the backyard, just the two of us. The night air was cool, and the sound of crickets filled the silence. I looked at Arif, and something shifted inside me. For the first time, I realized that what I felt for him went beyond friendship. There was a deeper connection, something I couldn't ignore. The warmth in my chest, the fluttering in my stomach, these feelings weren't just a result of our close bond. They were something more. I tried to push those feelings away, convincing myself that this was just a fleeting moment. But every time I was near him, I couldn't shake the growing sense that my heart belonged to him, in a way I had never anticipated. It terrified me, but at the same time, I couldn't deny it. I knew that what I felt was complicated. He was my cousin, and society's rules made it difficult to understand what was happening between us. Yet, my heart couldn't be swayed by logic or reason. It was as though a force stronger than anything I had ever known was pulling me toward him. We spent more time together in the weeks that followed, and each moment only deepened my feelings for him. One day, while we were walking together by the river, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I turned to him, my heart racing, and said, "Arif, I think I'm falling in love with you." He stopped in his tracks, his eyes wide in surprise. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then, slowly, he smiled, and my heart skipped a beat. "Lena," he said softly, "I've felt the same way for a while now." It was like the world stopped spinning. In that instant, everything felt right. We didn't need to say anything else. We both understood that this was something real, something we couldn't ignore. From that day on, our relationship changed. We both knew we had to navigate it carefully, but the bond between us grew stronger. I cherished every moment we spent together, and even though there were many challenges ahead, I was ready to face them with him by my side. As days passed, the bond between Arif and I deepened. We continued to spend time together, but there was a new, unspoken understanding between us. Every glance, every touch seemed to carry more meaning than before. The more I tried to deny my feelings, the stronger they became. But there was always a part of me that feared what would happen if anyone found out. How would our families react? Would they understand? One evening, after a family gathering, Arif and I found ourselves alone in the garden, the sun setting behind the trees. The air was warm, and the world around us felt peaceful. But within me, there was a storm of emotions. I turned to him, my voice barely above a whisper. "Arif, what are we doing? What happens now?" He looked at me, his eyes reflecting a mix of uncertainty and determination. "Lena," he said, his voice steady, "I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I want to be with you. I've never felt this way about anyone else. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out together." His words brought me a sense of calm, but the uncertainty still lingered. I could feel the weight of the situation pressing on me. I wanted to believe that love could conquer all, but the reality of our circumstances was hard to ignore. I had to decide if I was willing to risk everything, our family, our bond, and our future for this love. In the weeks that followed, we continued to keep our feelings hidden from everyone. But the more time I spent with Arif, the harder it became to hide what was in my heart. The longing in my eyes betrayed me every time we were in a room together. I didn't know how much longer we could keep this secret. It was only a matter of time before someone noticed. One day, as I was walking home after a visit to his house, I felt a strange sense of anticipation. I turned the corner and saw my aunt, Arif's mother, standing at the gate. She looked at me with a knowing smile, and my heart skipped a beat. "Come here, Lena," she said, beckoning me over. "I need to talk to you." I hesitated for a moment, but then walked over, trying to calm my racing heart. What could she possibly want to talk about? Was she aware of everything that had been happening between Aerith and me? I stood before my aunt, my heart pounding in my chest. She motioned for me to sit on a small bench near the garden. Her gaze was soft, but there was something more than curiosity in her eyes. It made me nervous. "Is everything okay, Lena?" she asked, her voice gentle but firm, as if she already knew the answer. "You and Aerith, you two seem different lately. More distant, but also there's something more." I froze. For a moment, I didn't know how to respond. Could she really have noticed the changes between us? Was I that obvious? "Auntie," I began, my voice trembling slightly, "there's something I need to tell you. I don't know how to explain it, but I think I'm in love with Aerith." Her eyes widened, and she remained silent for a few seconds, as though processing my words. I could feel the weight of the silence between us, and for a moment, I thought she might scold me, or worse, tell me that I was being foolish. But instead, she looked at me with a kind of understanding I hadn't expected. "Lena," she said softly, "love is a complicated thing. It doesn't always follow the rules or the expectations of others. But you must understand the consequences of such a love, both for you and for Aerith. Our family is close-knit, and if anything were to come to light, it could change everything." Her words echoed in my mind. She was right. Our families had always been tightly bound by love, but there were boundaries, rules that were ingrained in us from a young age. To cross those lines would mean facing judgment from people we cared about the most. But before I could respond, she placed a hand on mine. "Whatever you choose, Lena, just remember that love isn't something you can hide forever. If you and Aerith truly care for each other, you'll need to face the reality of your feelings. Just be sure that you're both ready for what comes next." Her words both comforted and terrified me. Could I really face the consequences of my love for Aerith? And could he? I felt the weight of her words hanging over me, but at the same time, there was a small spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, it was worth fighting for. That night, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I couldn't stop thinking about Aerith and what we had. I knew I couldn't go back to the way things were, but I also didn't know if I was ready to risk everything for a love that seemed so forbidden.